My name is Gauci. I am the managing partner of KSi Malta. I'm going to do more a business-like session, then I go into a lot of technical details. I started with a small film because I know Malta is not very well known in Israel, and that's why we decided to participate. KSi Malta is one of the leading companies in Malta for audit, tax and consultancy. We are part also of a global network called Morrison KSi. The turnover is over 1 billion as a network, and we have offices all over the world. As a firm, we offer a very wide range of services, obviously based on English type of audit firms, like in UK, because we are very much influenced by UK. We have also 4 websites in different jurisdictions from where we get most work. And though Malta is very small, it is quite big in a lot of financial services. Biggest in Europe for shipping, now 6th in the world. Biggest in betting, now in Europe. Captive insurance. Basically, the difference between us and Cyprus is that Malta has a lot of specialized services, which differ from Cyprus. Now it's going to become, after UK, the leading in funds. We will see also next week whether English banks will be transferring to Malta. They have a meeting because of Brexit, so the importance of Malta will grow. Next week, all the big banks in the UK are going to meet in Malta to see whether they will transfer part of their operations to Malta. So I wanted to give you just some details. It has also the most advantageous fiscal regime with the effective tax rate of 5% only. One of the things we've done very intelligently is that we negotiated very well our entrance into the EU. All our laws are transparent. Most of them are mirror of UK firms, so Malta offers certain advantages which is difficult to match. If you look at the economy, we have had the biggest gross domestic product growth in Europe. Even bigger than Germany, 6%, 5% this year. In real terms will be around 4%. So tourists have gone up to 2 million, which is 5 times the population. We have now more than 50,000 foreigners working in Malta from a working population of 191,000. So we are doing quite well. These were the figures for 2015. Obviously, Malta does not offer only financial services, but offers great weather. At the moment, you can go swimming still at 29 centigrade. You are in a very safe country, which is very important for foreigners. Excellent medical services. We have free education. Students are paid for going to university, not paid. So we offer a lot, and I will explain even later more incentives for industry. Why I started with this? Because those who deal in tax, from 1st January 2017, the world, if you were a tax consultant, will change completely. If you go back from the previous presentation, you saw all those countries who are going to exchange data. That you have to take it only in isolation, because now all banks in Europe will not accept money being transferred from offshore jurisdiction. They won't even have to close all bank accounts of offshore companies. So anyone who's going to do tax planning or is going to structure groups, he must think in a different way completely. And that is why Malta is gathering pace and becoming always bigger, because it gives you a chance to make tax planning. More than that, if you are on an offshore, you don't have VAT number. So you cannot have free services and goods sold into Europe. So I made this because anyone who has clients which have offshore companies and he has done nothing, he has a big problem. He will not be able to transfer funds, he will not be able to use that money unless you go to bank, which you know him, and you try to open it, has to close it and transfer. And in addition, from next year, including Israel, persons who have bank accounts all over the world will be reported to the tax authority. So now it's useless you open a trust with a nominee, there is no effect at all, because your tax authorities will still know. So who has not done any planning up to now, these clients are in big trouble if that assets were not declared to their fiscal authorities. Two countries in Europe, Germany and Spain, went even worse because they stated even if you pay tax, if you evade it, you go to jail. You know of the famous Bayern Munich chairman who went to jail for 3 years. So the situation now is completely changed. You can never tell a client to open an offshore company because you are just telling him that if the bank will know, even if it's in you, they will close his account even in Europe. Transparency is now clearly the most important issue. So that's why I made this defense, using a Maltese company of anyone using an EU company will have a VAT number. So all I am going to explain is based on the transparency we use today when we use Maltese companies, because of this OECD agreement. It's not difficult in Malta to open a bank account, subject that you give us the right documents and that the company is doing legal business. We don't find difficulties. You have to give us, for individuals, for directors and shareholders, those documents. And for companies who want to have a subsidiary in Malta, they must give us these documents. They are not complicated. The opening of bank account depends on how much time your bank will confirm the bank reference given to us or directly to the bank. Because some banks write directly to the bank, does not give it to you in your hand. So if the response from your bank is quick, normally registration of a company, once you give us the documents and we do the compliance, takes about 3 days maximum. Getting a bank account normally takes about 3 weeks, 4 weeks, if you give us all the documents from the date that the bank reference is confirmed from your bank. And why I was interested in coming to Israel? For the first time, I don't think that a lot of Israeli companies ever thought of using EU funds to develop their business. I think Malta and Israel can work very well in IT. Malta has a very high IT sector. There are a lot of funds from EU to develop IT. I don't think that Israeli company, I am convinced that they can make much more inroads into the IT sector. I will explain why I'm saying this through experience. We don't have a lot of Israeli companies in Malta. There is fund for startups where you can get even 25,000 euros grant. There is now a development bank we are going to open with 200 million capital. There are 50 million funds for any capital expenditure you wanted to make. There is also a special fund through banks where you only provide 20% of the security you need, and the 80% are guaranteed by the Malta government up to 500,000. So there is a lot of incentives. There is also a very good double taxation agreement between Malta and Israel. Any profits transferred from Malta to Israel or Israel to Malta is not taxed. So I think there is a lot of advantages for using Malta. And I think Malta can serve well. We all speak English. By combination, we speak Maltese, which is like yours language. Arabic, we are only the 3 Semitic languages in the world. We speak Arabic, Old Arabic, mixed with Italian and English, come from Aramaic times. So we indirectly, few people know this, but this is our language because we speak Maltese and English as national language. Nobody knows that in Malta there is a lot of manufacturing company. Actually, Malta is the country which exports most from its gross domestic product in Europe, because if you open a factory in Malta, you cannot rely on its internal market. So just to understand that the industry is quite big, all EasyJet aeroplanes are maintained in Malta, maintenance. Most of the big pharmaceutical companies are based in Malta now. There are some very big companies like Playmobil. All the toys you see of Playmobil are done in Malta. Most of the valves you see are done by Trollberg, which is the biggest company in the world for valves. So there is a big amount of industry. There's about 500 companies, which comes from various different sectors. Actually, way back in 1987, I came to Israel to see how Israel institutes does technical schools. I was invited by the Israeli government, and today our schools are modeled on that report which I had done with other members of the government, and now we have very good technical schools. What happens is that when we want to develop an industry, we start from education, then we make the infrastructure, then we make the law, like what happened in aviation. And now in aviation, in a few years, we also become leaders in the EU. To show you what I am saying, for a small country, the investment into Malta is around 5 billion a year, with a population of just 450,000. Shanghai Electric just took 50% shareholding in Enemata, which is the electricity company, to infiltrate the solar business into Europe. So it's not going only to take and provide electricity, but with the intention of selling solar panels into Europe. EasyJet, as I explained, transferred all her maintenance to Malta. An American university now is going to open, which will bring about 8,000 students foreign to Malta. And another investment comes from Barts University in UK, which is going to invest 100 million in the medical sector. And now also Crane, the big American company which print money, is going to transfer its activities to Malta for Europe, another 200 million investment. So we think that the economy is going still to go very strong. The system of taxation in Malta is very simple. I made an example. Basically, I want to explain it in a very simple way. If a company makes €100 profit, it has to pay €35 tax, but then gets 6-7 back as a refund. So you finish to pay 5%. And why I started with transparency? Because basically, what we do is, we do a Maltese holding company and a Maltese trading company, and you will decide yourself when the dividend from the holding company, where all the money finished, goes to Israel or to another country. So a lot of companies now are using Malta to better their cash flow and to be more competitive. And then profits are only sent to the country of residence of the person who is the shareholder when he decides. And this is everything transparent, everything legal. It can be used in a lot of advantageous systems. For example, you want to buy a hotel in London. The principle is always the same. You make a holding, you make a Maltese company, you make a subsidiary in London, you buy the hotel. When you come to sell the hotel, you sell the shares of the Maltese company and you have no taxes. In IT, in IP, everything is always based on these two principles. You always make a holding company and a trading company. I am not speaking here of licensed like funds, because those have different rules. The tax but remains always 5%. The principle is always the same. It is fully approved by the EU, so there is no questions or doubt about it. Also, when we speak of participation exemption, it means any dividends which are received if you have basically more than 10% shareholding in a subsidiary are not taxable in Malta. This gives you great flexibility when you are organizing groups and everything. And as you may go on the MFSA website, you see now that a lot of funds from Switzerland, betting companies are all in Malta. You go to the license section and you see a tremendous amount. Because in addition that we have a big advantage, we know everybody in Malta. If you have a problem, it's a small country, you go meet directly with the authorities and you try to solve the problem. And that gives you a great flexibility. Here we made an example of what I explained before about commercial property, for example. It can work for IP, it can work for all of them. In the cases of IP, tax can be also zero if you design your group or structure under certain conditions. So, in my opinion, it can work very well for Israeli companies. Also, we have 3 schemes for individuals. Malta has the famous passport. Okay, we don't tell it passport for sale, but basically you are buying a passport. It's called an investment. It is the only one approved by the EU. It costs about 700,000 to do it. We have had up to now about 900. It is the most successful in the world. It will go up maximum to 1,800 persons. We get a lot of people from all over the world for it. We are licensed, and if you don't want to invest, you can rent a place rather than buy it. All these details will be on our website, so I'm not going to go into details, but basically it costs you about 750,000 to apply and pay the government, and then you have to rent or buy a place. But then also we have two schemes. There is one which is very simple. Somebody wants to transfer himself to Malta and work. He can pay just 15,000 tax a year, remit up to 100,000 euros to Malta. And he can stay in Malta for 5 years, paying 15,000 each year. The first 100,000 he remit to Malta does not pay taxes, and he can work. So anybody who is not so rich, but still want to transfer himself to Europe, can transfer himself in Malta. And then we have another 2 schemes. Another scheme there, where it is different from the passport because it costs less. But in that case, you take a tax residence rather than citizenship. The other one, which is here, is also the 15,000, which I told you about. Here are the basic rules of this. So they are done, and they are very successful, especially for foreigners who want to stay in Malta. As I told you, Malta is a small country, you get to know everybody in 6 months. So foreigners find themselves quite well because the climate and the safety and everything. Ireland is very small. Obviously, the most important thing in all the schemes is that if you don't buy the passport, you get a Schengen visa. I am also a member president representing Malta in the Chamber of Commerce in Brussels. So I have dealt with some Israeli companies before and I assisted them in certain matters. And we try to use our contacts, obviously, to help clients to do business in Europe and for research and development funds and so on and so forth. And one of the things we specialize also is on letter of credits. So a lot of our companies are trading, and the areas which are very successful in Malta are IT, engineering, manufacturing, IP, and pharmaceuticals. Those are the 5 driving things behind all the financial services. And then there is the big sectors of insurance, betting, and funds, which every year are growing very fast. I am convinced that a lot of UK companies will finally transfer themselves to Malta because of our legislation and our connection with UK. We were a colony up to 1964, so there is a big bond between Malta and UK. We also have a very big IT section through our company. We work for big companies, which are all operate in Malta. Now Microsoft and all the big ones are situated in Malta. We give several different IT services. I'm not an expert in IT, so I cannot answer you. But this was done by our office. We work for a lot of renowned companies. So if anyone we can cooperate with, we would be open for business. And I thank you for listening to me. Any questions?